won the World Cup in Carlos Alberto and Beckenbauer, and Cruyff, who was the captain of the Dutch team that lost in '74.
Johan Cruyff quickly getting the game underway with a pass to Sonny Askew down the right side. The young boy from Baltimore takes a shot, batted away by Birkenmeier. And the Cosmos take over.
Well, you have to say something about set plays. I'm sure that was a set play.
Yep.
Straight from the kickoff, because Sonny Askew found a tremendous lot of room there, and he got up a good shot that Birkenmeier couldn't save, just punched it out.
Okay, and now the Cosmos in blue on the attack. Rick Davis, the young American, with the ball, number 17 to Naskins, number 13 there. Back out to Bogicevic. He's the playmaker, number 8. Moving it into young Romero, the teenager from Paraguay. Can he go or not? Canalia now with the ball. Look out! Knocked away by Bob Yarushi very nicely. There he is, number 2 for Washington. Canalia again getting the ball. They better look out. Cosmos getting deep into scoring territory very early in the game.
Good example there of Romero's ability to hang on to the ball. He's a slight-looking, he looks like a little schoolboy, and his legs don't look that big, but he's mighty difficult to get off the ball once he's got it.
He's just 19 years old, 5 feet 7, 145 pounds. Is Julio Cesar Romero. Little Caesar, we might call him, huh? Now we'll see if the Diplomats can set something up in their second possession. Wim Janssen, number 12 there with the ball. Curly-haired, blonde Dutchman. Moving to Yarushi, overlapping from the defense. Janssen out to Horvat, the long-haired Hungarian. Going for Cruyff. Cruyff keeping the ball inbounds. Still in play. Tommy O'Hara, the fullback, overlapping. Look at Cruyff go all by himself.
Well, a marvelous example of the sort of ball control you can expect from Cruyff. A very long ball from Horvat, which looked as though it was going to go out. Cruyff, watching over his shoulder, saw it coming, kept it in play, and has now won a corner.
If you're new to the game of soccer, the defensive team knocked it over the end line. Therefore, the offensive team gets a corner kick. That'll be taken by Joe Horvat. He's left-footed. He can curl that ball in towards the goal. But he puts it right out into the center, knocked away by Beckenbauer. But here comes the Diplomats again. Janssen deflected off Naskins.
But Naskins never gets out of the way of anything. We talked about him at the head of the game. That's a typical example of the way he just likes to get in front of everything.
Do you think we're going to see a little action here today?
I think we are. We just saw a very good example of why Jeff Durgan is playing at centre half and not Wim Rosbergen. Classic piece of heading.
All right, here come the Dips again. But Carlos Alberto knocks it aside to Beckenbauer, who's got a much shorter haircut. Hardly recognize him out there today. He normally has a big shock of brown curly hair. Not today. Canalia, what's he doing way back here? You'll seldom see him on the other side of the field. All by himself this time, however. And it's Don Draghi, the American, getting it back to his goalie, Bill Irwin. With the throw out. Washington in the white, on the move, going from right to left. The early minutes of the North American Soccer League game before a tremendous crowd here in Washington between the Washington Diplomats and the New York Cosmos. Looks like offside.
Well, it's a very good run from Yarushi there when the ball was finally pushed through there. The player was judged offside. Must have been a close call, though. I don't think there could have been more than a foot or two in that.
Again, offside means that at the time the ball was passed to you, you did not have two defenders, that can include the goalie, between you and the goal line. It's a very simple rule. Okay, now Ricky Davis of 17 getting it back to Escandaria, number 2. Now Beckenbauer in the midfield. Getting it down towards Di Bernardo. Di Bernardo, the American, losing it to Yarushi. Yarushi very much on the ball so far today. Canadian defender. Whoa, Alan Green hit from behind, but no call.
No call.
What did you think about that?
Well, I didn't think it was a good decision. I think it should have been called a foul. It was clearly decked, and decked hard by Durgan.
Certainly looked like it should have been a free kick for the Washington Diplomats. That's not a penalty kick. To get a penalty kick, the foul must take place inside the large penalty area box. Escandarian now to Ricky Davis. Davis playing at fullback this year. He was a midfielder last year, but because of the abundance of talent in midfield for the Cosmos, let's have another look at this thing here.
Well, there's Callum Green with the ball under control, and you can see that contact is made with ball and man at just about the same time. The referee's judgment is that if the ball is played, then it wasn't a foul. I don't think I agree with him on that.
Here comes Horvat, getting it down to Alan Green, and looks like another offside call. Boy, that was a close one too.
I'm inclined to think that wasn't that close. I'm inclined to think that Green was onside and that was simply a bad call.
I was too.
Carlos Alberto on the far side of the field was racing back to cover that. And I'm sure he got ahead of that play.
We'll try to have another look. Here it comes again.
Now, see, Carlos Alberto, he is clearly onside.
Certainly onside.
Carlos Alberto at the top of your screen there was nearer to the goalkeeper than the player who got the ball.
And, of course, the goalie was there. So that's the two players that you need between you and the goal line.
And I'm afraid that is a problem in this game of soccer. It seems to me many linesmen look for offside calls instead of looking for onside calls. And I think that's rather destructive to the flow of the game.
All right, here come the Cosmos again. Di Bernardo coming from the left side to the right side. Taking a shot at Irwin.
Good example of how useful height is in a goalkeeper. Fine on the high shots, not so good on the low ones.
Fine interception by Naskins, getting it to little Romero, the teenager from Paraguay. Saw him keep possession of that ball very nicely. Bogey now. Bogey has scored a couple of goals recently. Seldom does that. He was trying for Canalia, but he didn't get it. When you consider that the official temperature is 85 degrees, the temperature on the field is 105 degrees, and the humidity is 61%, the pace of this game is remarkable.
Well, once again, we've seen Durgan knocking Green down. This time, the call does go in favor of the Diplomats.
Eskandarian, by the way, number 2, is playing man-for-man on Johan Fight right now. There's Alan Green again. Shot across the goal now.
It seems to me that ball did not go out. That'll be a throw-in. In fact, it hit the corner flag, and it's still in play. It never went out at all.
It's not out of bounds or into touch until the whole ball goes over the entire line. So by hitting the stick on the corner there, it stayed in bounds. Referee wearing a red shirt today because of the fact that the Cosmos are in navy blue. Normally the referee in soccer is dressed in black.
Shall I go into my scientific theory about dark uniforms being too hot? Or?
Well, I've always heard that since I was a little boy, that dark colors absorb the heat and make you feel hotter, and white, as the Diplomats are wearing, makes you feel cool. We'll find out later in the day. Still scoreless in the early going. 37 minutes and 45 seconds remaining in the first half. There's been a lot of action. Cosmos now trying to gain clear possession, and they do. Di Bernardo going down.
Bernardo brought down the
On a scale of 10 for acting, I would give that about an 8.
Well, I think it's a rather clumsy tackle there.
And yet the call was made.
Yeah, well, I don't see how he could have avoided falling over. Their body was sort of suddenly in front of him. He was going to have to go a prodigious leap to get around that.
Eskandarian now, number 2, with the ball for New York. Carlos Alberto moved it over to Beckenbauer. Watch the moves on this man as he threaded a beautiful pass there. Didn't he?
Very well cut out. Yeah, very well read, which is a soccer term meaning anticipated by Draghi, and beautifully cut out.
Crowd continuing to come in, by the way. It's going to be very near capacity, and this stadium holds 53,000 people. There's never been anything like it for soccer in Washington. Here comes Carlos Alberto now, great Brazilian player. A nice lead pass by Canalia, couldn't quite get through 2 defenders. Let's take a break. There's no score. A packed stadium here at RFK for the Diplomats and the Cosmos. Joe Horvat with a corner kick for Washington. Curls it or smashes it towards the center, really, all the way across, and there's a call. A foul in the penalty area against Washington. Well, had that been against the Cosmos, it would have resulted in a penalty kick.
You know, I'm laughing because the foul was on. In other words, the foul was committed against Carlos Alberto, who really did a con job on that, because I don't think he was touched much on that at all. But he flailed his arms and went down. And I think it was Janssen who the foul was called on, and he looked at the referee as much as say, how can you call for that?
35 minutes, 30 seconds remaining in the first half. No score on a hot, humid day. Clear skies, though. The kind of summer afternoon they expect in Washington, D.C. Here comes Bogey now, the Yugoslav, with a quick long pass down toward Ricky Davis. The fullback overlapping.
Well, Ricky Davis, in fact, of course, was on the list, and we had him on the lineup as a fullback, but he's certainly not playing as a fullback. He's playing more as a midfielder, and he's going, I mean, he's over on the left now, where one might have thought he would be. That, in fact, is because Cruyff has moved over to the left, in other words, to the right of the Cosmos defense. Now, that seems to me to be something right at the heart of the discrepancy or the trouble between Cruyff and his coach, Gordon Bradley, as to where Cruyff should play. And my interpretation is that Bradley does not want him playing on the left, and yet here he is on the left. No?
Single-minded man. And offside ball, I believe. It's going to be a direct kick for the Cosmos. Dangerous playing against Washington. Now they say indirect kick. There it is. Must touch another player, in other words, before it would go into the goal. Were it going into the goal. Bogey now with the ball. Back out to Ricky Davis. And steal for the Washington Diplomats by Carmine Marcantonio.
Ricky Davis really gave that ball away, but he was so quick to recover it, he got it back.
Now, again the battle for the ball. This time goes to Washington. Joe Horvath down the middle this time with a pass on the left side that really was to no one. Much too far ahead of fullback Tommy O'Hara there. A lot of action last night. Fort Lauderdale beat Portland. We'll see Fort Lauderdale next week. They're in first place in their division. Tampa Bay also won. That's the team Fort Lauderdale will play on television next week. They're in second place in the division. Memphis shut out Atlanta in Atlanta, 3-0 there. And Vancouver beat Detroit before a good crowd of about 17,000. Let's watch the action now as Johnson had the ball there. Cosmos taking over again. Take a look at the other scores as the ball comes down. Minnesota beat Houston in a shootout. Minnesota finally winning a shootout. They've had tough luck in that department this year. Tough luck in general, but they're starting to move up. Seattle 5-1, and Roger Davies had 4 goals in that game and 1 assist. Chicago Sting, as you saw, still going strong, 2-1 over Los Angeles at Los Angeles. Now, back to this ball game, which is really shaping up. 32 minutes, 55 seconds remaining in the first half as Horvath moves down the left side. They're slowing it down, setting it up, and perhaps getting a breath in the heat. Now down to Alan Green. All by himself for the moment. You got anybody to move it? So takes a quick shot. Hit the side of the goal.
Well, a marvelous example of how quickly Alan Green gets off his shot. I'm surprised to find him out there on the left unmarked. He got this ball in a lot of space. He takes on Carlos Alberto, moves the ball inside, and then suddenly with a very, very short back lift, whack through Carlos Alberto's legs, and you can see that wasn't far off that near post.
Now Johan Cruyff with the ball for Washington. 2 men on him, and down he goes in the penalty area.
There's a call, but it'll be indirect, I think. Obstruction, probably.
Indirect kick, he's calling. How can it be an indirect kick?
Well, he's
in the penalty area.
He's calling obstruction, which is not a major foul, so it's an indirect kick in the...
one of the minor fouls. Certainly, he could have called it either way, but it'll be a kick very close to the goal. Indirect kick, again, means that he cannot kick it directly into the goal mouth unless it hits another player. That could be a defensive player as well as an offensive.
It could be a simple deflection, as long as it touches somebody else.
The wall being set up by the Cosmos. No score in the game.
We'll see who's over the ball. Cruyff is over the ball. Behind him are Horvath and Green. This is Green running over it.
A little set play and a kick by Horvath right into the wall. Yarushi, the kick right at the goalkeeper. The score, 0-0 in Washington. We return live to RFK Stadium. Jim McKay with Paul Gardner in the booth as the Cosmos in the blue shirts are on the attack. No score in the game. Johan Neeskens, number 13, getting it to Romero, the new teenage star. Beckenbauer, the veteran from Germany. Going for Kanaya. It's kicked away by Janssen, the Dutchman on the defense for Washington.
Washington have almost everybody except Johan Cruyff back almost in their own penalty area.
Lofted pass and a header by Kanaya. Well, many people think he's not too strong in the heading department, and yet he's had several goals from the head this year.
He's not a classic header of the ball, and he's not a player you want to play the ball up to so that he can use his head. But when the opportunity presents itself, he's a very sharp header of the ball. He can get a lot of power on the ball. This is a perfect example of exactly what I'm not talking about, in fact. I think tactically, if Washington are making a mistake up to now, it seems to me that they're not marking Romero tightly enough. Romero's getting a lot of room, and I don't think he's the sort of player that you can allow to roam around for too long with that sort of space.
All right, down towards Johan Cruyff. Cruyff being marked very closely by Eskandarian, and it's going to be a free kick.
And again, that'll be just outside the area, although I think the replay might show that pushing started inside the area.
Now, this will be a direct kick. That means that he can kick it directly into the goal mouth for a goal without touching anybody. Horvath taking it. He has a powerful left-footed shot. A small wall against him of just 2 players. Into the middle and banged away by Bogey.
That's one way of taking those free kicks, is simply to power it in the middle as hard as you can, hoping for some sort of defensive mistake.
Shot by Yarushi goes wide. Goal kick for New York. They'll put it in play, and we'll be right back. Still no score in Washington. The Diplomats against the New York Cosmos. 28 minutes, 30 seconds remaining in the first half. Carlos Alberto with the ball for the dark uniformed Cosmos. Not the champions. He gets so used to referring to them as champions, but it's not the case this year. Last year they lost their crown to the Vancouver Whitecaps. Big crowd, hot day, RFK Stadium. Things slowing down just for the moment, but there's been very little of that so far. ABC's Wide World of Sports coming up after the soccer this afternoon on ABC. A USAC dirt car race. That should really be something. Lots of action in those from DuPont, Illinois. Something you've seen before and like the Chinese acrobats of Taiwan. And a review of George Willig's rock climb of just yesterday. It was live on Wide World. Now back to the soccer. Still no score, of course. Washington in the white, coming from right to left.
I think there's one thing that's notable. I mentioned just now the amount of room Romero is getting for the Cosmos. I might also mention the amount, well, I won't.
Janssen getting it into the middle, headed away by Alberto.
It is amazing how often he's in the right place at the right time. That did not look like a particularly good header to me. It looked like he got it on top of his head, but it was enough to clear the danger. I mentioned Horvath. Sorry, Jim, how much space he is getting in return, perhaps, for the Diplomats.
I'll tell you, Jeff Durgan is all over Alan Green. Washington still has the ball. White. Toward the middle, heels it to O'Hara. O'Hara into the middle. Good play here. That was for Horvath, but it didn't quite get there.
Tipped away by Naiskin. Has just got his foot in there to knock the ball away.
Well, O'Hara's evaded by young Romero. Here he comes by himself again. Tried to pass it to himself, I think, but
he's claiming an obstruction call against Draghi there, which I think he might have got, actually, but the referee waved it away and said no. He pushed the ball past Draghi and then tried to ram around the other side, but Draghi just didn't move, so Romero ran into him.
Here comes Big Horvath, the Hungarian, losing it to Naiskins.
Being tripped, I would have thought, by Romero. And no, says the referee.
Says play on, chaps. Beckenbauer now with his new short haircut, number 6. Former German World Cup star. There was some rumor about him going back to Germany at the end of this season, but lately we hear, no, he's going to be back in New York for a couple more years.
It's a strange situation, that, because it was announced in the press in New York that he would sign for New York, and then the following week, Hamburg, the club he's alleged to be going to in Germany, held a press conference announcing that he'd be coming to them.
So, more news later on that. Okay, New York on the attack. Nobody has been able to score. There are 25 minutes and 50 seconds remaining in the first half.